Welcome everybody to Stay Curious. I'm your Mark. I'm your host, Mark Marquette, and I'm your crazy Mark, as it will be, and I'm your friend Mark. So, welcome to my little world here, everybody, as we enjoy another week that we're kicking off with space fever on the coast. Marty Winkle's my co-producer. We've just been doing this for 5 years and 11 months, over 1,400 episodes. Many of them on YouTube, about 1,200 of them on YouTube. So if you're bored, just thumb through them on our YouTube channel, the American Space Museum, or Google something, and you might get some great feedback and some great interviews we've done with a lot of space workers, a dozen astronauts. But Marty Winkle and I, we like talking to space workers, and we've got a couple lined up for you this week. And we'll tell you about that tomorrow when Carlton Bailey's due to grace our studio. So, hi, Marty Winkle. How are you, my friend? It's been a busy month of January, and we had a fabulous space memorabilia show. Thank you for helping me with it.
You're welcome, but Mark, it's February.
Yeah, and I just realized that but boy, January, the last 6 weeks is what I want to say, have just been unbelievable with a lot of wonderful memorials to our fallen astronauts, a premiere of Apollo 1 documentary, and we've had 5 or 6 tour groups that I've led through this museum the past 6 weeks, and we're blessed and we love it. And thank you all for watching today's program. We've got behind us here CSM 110, okay, which was Kitty Hawk on Apollo 14, splashed down today in space history 55 years ago. We'll end our show with a little look at that and some of it in a fun way. But don't believe everything you read. As Marty and I were saying, we know our tail numbers of our lunar modules that Grumman built. Apollo 14 was LM8. But I don't have committed to memory the CSM tail numbers. And so I looked it up. 110 was launched January 31st to the mission to the Ferromaro region. The capsule successfully returned to Earth on February 9th, 1871, and is currently on display at the National Air and Space Museum. I told Marty it says here on this AI entry. And that's driving Steve Jokums to do cartwheels right now because no, it's not the National Air and Space Museum. It is at Kennedy Space Center at the Saturn V building. I've seen it many, many, many times, as many of you have. It's pretty cool. They have a roped off area there, and it's not in a capsule, a plastic capsule. The hatch is open so you can look in a little bit. They got you further away from it than when I moved here 7 or 8 years ago. It was just roped off with a velvet rope, which made it kind of look like a VIP area back there. But 55-year-old moonship there, and you look inside of it, one of these, and you just go, man, 3 guys spent a week in that together. They are real men. So here, I'm going to my thing here. Bring up that, but I just wanted to point out, trust none of what you hear and less of what you see. Use your, like the great launch director Bob Seek says, don't forget to Google your brain, okay? And does it make sense up there? So thank you, Bob Seek. We're going to get Bobby on the show here not too distant future. And let me pull up here my YouTube channel so we can talk to many of you up there. There I am. And we've got some Black history to talk about today. We've got some shuttles. We had a tremendous space memorabilia show. Let me go back. Oh, what happened to, oh, there. I don't know where my first one went there. Oh, it went the other way. Something happened there. Those got flipped around. We had a tremendous space memorabilia show Saturday. Thank you all so much. The charming Jan Davis was awesome, and got a couple pictures of her. Very successful to our vendors. And we're going to tease you here a little bit that Black History Month special, the first African American to walk in space, happened today, 31 years ago on February 9th, where Bernard Harris ventured into space in just a spacesuit STS 63. There's some people looking at some of the wares of the memorabilia show. We've got see who's saying hi already. We've got wow, a lot of you piled in there. Rosalie Jubilee, you're not going to believe what she brought there, and she said it was fun. Yes, it was, Rosalie. Good morning, Cliff Watson. Hope you're doing good in Pomona, Australia. There's Jan Davis. She's got our little stickers of Ozzy the Space Manatee, who is going to be our um, mascot for the museum. Hi there, Jim McDade. You want to check out Jim's show with me Friday? We'll talk more about that. There's John Zarella talking to Jan and her lovely wife, Dick, and they live in Huntsville area in the good weather up there, and then come down here in Florida, where she was born at Patrick Air Force Base. Mark Fell says it's a balmy in Minnesota. That must be above freezing, huh? Dean Babcock, Tommy Usiak. I talked to Tom. He said he's glad the memorabilia show is a success. He's in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, Marty. I called him before the Super Bowl to remind him how old we were, that we'd seen every Super Bowl. If you're like over 10 years old, back in the day, if you're over 60, you've probably seen, if you're over 70, you've probably seen all of them. And let's see, Tom Celentano up in the 30 degrees today. Carlton Bailey, you coming in tomorrow, buddy? Thank you so much for that love on the memorabilia show. We're going to have a show with Carlton. We'll talk about who's in space, who's going to space, what's going on in space, and is the covers being pulled off this Artemis stage that's going on. There's some grumbling that boy, launching one rocket every 3 years. What a cadence, huh, Marty? Just the astronauts to me, guys, whatever color they are, they have a great Monday. Well, John the Beagle Dad, that's the way many of us feel also, but we do have Black History Month celebrated in the country. We celebrate ethnic and minority days in America, so we want to be good team players and do just that. But I agree with him wholeheartedly that if two women are qualified to land on the moon, let two women be the first to go back on the moon. But and we're getting there. It's so Mia's there today. Hi, Mia. Hope that you're having fun today with Grandpa up there, maybe making a snowman. Here were some of the wonderful things that Emily Perry had. I believe she sold every one of those items. I know she sold this to two of them to me. I bought both the vertical bank there and the one on the bottom. And they work, actually. So thrilled to have those. And our next memorabilia show will be in the first weekend in December. There'll be one in August out at Sands History Museum. There is Ted and Morgan Martin. They are some young entrepreneurs, Marty. They really had a nice setup there that I envy and would like to have that look in our space museum. Hopefully Morgan and Ted will help us form a committee for future memorabilia shows. Now that we've got the successful formula, everybody made some good money and probably had a couple hundred people there. They have a shop in the mall, Cosmic Collectibles in the Titusville Mall. And there's Rosalie herself there. Look at Rosalie Jubilee. Folks, we love this lady. You stayed a long time there, Rosie. And she handmade these little dolls, okay? And Space Horse and Space Lion, and there were a couple others. I'll show them tomorrow with when Carlton's on here, because I got a picture of Zarella and Carlton with Rosie together there. But great work, and I'd love to sell them in our gift shop. See what we can negotiate about that. But what a fun time we had there, wasn't it? Thank you so much, Rosalie. And it's really a joy for me to see people come together, Marty. You know me a long time, and you know I'm about the fellowship of people, and just looking up in the room full of people, just chitter chattering left and right, and talking about my grandpa had this, or we found this in grandma's closet, or my closet. My wife told me get rid of stuff. What's it worth? and then a lot of sales being going on there. So I saw a few pieces of that Mylar you sell walk out of there, Marty. And but did you buy anything? You usually buy more than you sell.
No, I didn't buy more than I sold this time. I did sell several pieces of Mylar, and I bought, I think, 3 pictures and a lunar module tie pin, which I had, but now I have 2 of them.
Well, I'm not looking for any pats on the back, but you've been a part of this museum long before I have. Isn't it a joy to see people in fellowship and just hanging out together like they did?
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. I mean, I never envisioned that the museum would grow in that manner. So all the credit goes to you, or at least 98% of it.
Oh, all
It goes to
right.
you, Mark.
Well, thank you very much. I couldn't do it without the support that's needed here. But that's why we'll get a committee together, just like we did Shuttle Fest, and prepare this to hand off to a group of people now that we build another business model to not just make the money we made over this at the museum is good. All right, it's like a day at the gift shop, a good day at the gift shop. But to me, building the camaraderie, building the relationships, and building the fact that people didn't know where this place was 10 years ago. Really, it was a very niche museum for the Apollo era group because they didn't really have programs to expand uh, out in the community. So that's the boots on the ground that I've enjoyed doing, and we'll continue to do it. So had a great time, and next I got a little breather. We have 321 Day coming up, March 21st, to celebrate the region's uh, tourism. But I'm all eyes ahead on Shuttle Fest, and I'll be making some phone calls to check out some astronauts, get them committed before March 1st here when I get done with today's show. So uh, we are family now. That's right, Dave Stangy. And Rosalie, good. You're welcome for that shout out, young lady. Well, let's look at what gets us to the dance every month that I'm never getting away from. Is Shuttles of the month of February. 3, 6, 9, 10, 11 beautiful shuttles launched. All the orbiters were launched in the month. Of course, you could bet that OV 103 Discovery would have the most, and it did with 4. But the 2 newer ones after it, Endeavour had 3, and no, Atlantis had 3, and Endeavour had 2. OV 105. 67 people can say, I've orbited the Earth in the month of February. That were in the shuttle anyway. Janice Voss twice in the month there. Historically, we had the first untethered spacewalk by Bruce McCandless up there for 41B. We had the first near mirror rendezvous with the first woman pilot, Eileen Collins. That's 63, and we'll be talking about that in a minute. That was launched on February 3rd. That's the third one on the top row. The last ISS hardware was delivered in the month of February. And what is that? Of course, that's the Cupola 130. And we'll be looking at what is said about the Cupola. Marty, you'll have to go over there and get my new book, though. It's right over there, Marty, on my desk. And the second Hubble Space Telescope repair mission. STS-82 is a February mission there, and boy, we love Joe Tanner. He was awesome on this at Shuttle Fest, and also, well, we've met Tanner, Smith, and Lee, all on that. All spacewalkers we've met a lot, and we'll talk about that later in the week, most likely. So, but couple other things to get out of the way as let's do that. I wanted to get STS 122. Let me quickly see. This is a new book that I got, 122. Always wondered why this looked the way it does, Marty, with the triangle on top of the square. So let's see if this gives me an answer here. And oh my gosh, I left my glasses over there too. I think I can do it. No, I'm not going to be able to do it. Um, See a pair of them over there, my cheaters.
Yep.
Okay, that'll work,
Sure
buddy.
is tough getting old, Mark.
It is. I resist putting the necklace around my neck, but I'm going to have to do it. Also known as ISS-1E by the International Space Station crew, it makes a connection between the great sea voyages of the past and the contemporary exploration of the universe. At the bottom right, we see a 15th century sailing vessel of the kind that first crossed the Atlantic from Europe to the New World, notably that of Christopher Columbus. Atlantis is illustrated, so that's right here, over there, okay. Atlantis is illustrated, continuing that journey, connected by the ship by a trail that recalls the astronaut badge. So yeah, that's kind of what I thought this was the astronaut. I didn't see the ship in there in the lower right. Primary objective was to deliver the European Space Agency's Columbus Science Module, a permanent module. Both of these missions I'm going to talk about that were launched on February 3rd. No, I'm sorry, the 7th and the 8th. All right. We're going to talk about another one launched on the 7th here in a minute. The 6 stars shown in the main section of the patch represent the 6 prime crew members of Atlantis. The 2 stars that accompany the ISS designation 1E suggest a reference to the 2 crew members who would remain on board the space station during the crew transfer. The star underneath the mission number 122 is for the up crew member staying in space. The star pictured bottom left is for the down crew member going home. Okay, so that's why you got the 1E there. The 1E was a construction expedition in 2008, launched on February 7th. Steve Frick was the commander, Alan Poindexter the pilot, Leland Melvin, Rex, who's an African American, was on this mission. Rex Waldheim, Hans Schrugel, Stan Love, Leopold Eihers, and Dan Tanney on there. Quite an international crew there. So, and then this one of my favorite ones, 130. This is the last segment to be put on the International Space Station. And when I saw the plans to do this over 30 missions, you're going, what? But this mission patch artwork both celebrates the past and looks to the future of human spaceflight. The primary objectives for STS-130 were to deliver and install the Tranquility module in the Cupola Observatory module to the ISS. The European-built Tranquility provides extra room, life support systems, and environmental control systems to the crew of the ISS. The Cupola's Observatory module, also built by ESA, is a small facility attached to the Tranquility with 6 windows around the edge and 1 above, allowing panoramic views in space for conducting robotic operations as well as providing breathtaking views of Earth and the universe. The design and shape and configuration is in the Cupola module and features the very first Earth image taken by Lunar Orbiter 1. The first American automated spacecraft to orbit the moon in 1966. I did not know that's what that Earth represents. I just kind of thought it was stylized. Endeavour can be seen soaring through the windows of this patch, stressing the vital role the space shuttle played in construction of the ISS and in paving the way for future voyages of human space exploration. They were docked for 10 days, and that was George Zamka, Terry Virts, the pilot, Zamka, the commander. Kay Heyer was the mission specialist, with Steve Robinson, Nick Patrick, and Bob Benkin, Bob Benkin also flew the first demo of Crew Dragon. So, so I love that patch. That's a cool one. Plus, I've eaten many a meal with Kay Heyer, so that's interesting too. And there is the cupola delivered there. And who is that looking so contemplative in the cupola? Well, that is America's most experienced astronaut, period, man or woman. And she's having a birthday today. Okay, so we want to wish a big happy birthday to Peggy Whitson. Peggy Whitson. Oh man, Peggy Whitson's birthday sheet is right here. And if you don't know much about her, well, let me tell you about Peggy Whitson. She was born Peggy Annette Whitson on February 9th, 1860 in Mount Airy, Iowa, growing up on a hog farm outside of Beaconsfield, Iowa. She watched the Apollo 11 moon landing in July 1969 and decided she wanted to be an astronaut. There's another astronaut we're going to talk about. Same thing happened to him. She is 66 today, our most experienced astronaut, the oldest woman to orbit the Earth. She was that at 57, and then she did at age 65 last year on the Axiom 4 mission in July 2025. She was inducted into the Astronaut Hall of Fame by the Scholarship Foundation in June, and while in quarantine for that mission. And I think it launched for 10 days at the end of June last year. She's got 696 days in space, Marty, and a host of other records, including 10 spacewalks for a woman. All right, she became an astronaut in 1996 for the Shuttle Mir program. She has 10 EVA, 60 hours, places her fourth. Okay. Rice University, Iowa Wesleyan College, a biochemistry person. I'll show you a few other pictures of her while I was talking about her there. There she is in her blue astronaut garb. There's Peggy's in space. Peggy Whitson is among a handful of space flyers who've been launched on 3 different spaceships. She was on a shuttle, Endeavour, 2 Russian Soyuz spaceships, and the SpaceX Crew Dragon. Twice. She's an Axiom astronaut and has gone up twice. Here she is, Elf on the Shelf. Famous picture of her. Okay. And do you have another picture of her? No, I guess I did. I was going to swap another one out. Oh, I used the cupola picture of Peggy there. And she might go to space again. All right. With an Axiom spacecraft. So, 66 years old. God bless you. And there's America's 65. See what woman beats that. John Glenn's 77 is the oldest person to orbit the Earth, by the way. Black History Month in February. Happy to celebrate anytime, any excuse to celebrate wonderful people and their lives and how they've influenced it, whatever their color or nationality. But we celebrate in February. Titusville, particularly, is a very important place, Marty. Up just 10 miles from where we're broadcasting here in downtown Titusville is the Henry and Harriet Moore Center.
Henry, not Henry.
Henry, yeah, Harry, that's right. Harry and Henrietta Moore Center. Thank you, Marty. They were murdered on Christmas Day, 1953, I believe, or 51, 2 years before what was considered the birth of the civil rights movement by Medgar Edgars and the Martin Luther King, great people. But they're blown up by Ku Klux Klan members in their bedroom, put a bomb under their house. The house has been recreated, a beautiful homage to them, and the whole movement is now over 70 years old, by the way. And these are the only husband and wife martyrs murdered during this period of racial equality that we're striving for in all levels of society. So Titusville, real forefront to this. And we love talking about Sharon Caples McDougall. She's a modern day hidden figure from Moss Point, Massachusetts, but she was a spacesuit tech at Johnson Space Center and suited up many of the shuttle astronauts there. She has a little shuttle outfit. She wrote a book about her alter ego there, Shay, Suiting Up with Shay. So I haven't seen her on the Space Coast in a while. And when she does, we'll have a program with her. We did one remotely with her. Bernard Harris on this date, like we said, on STS 63, became the first African American to do a spacewalk. Um, and this was a big deal. A fellow spacewalker with him was Full. Okay, what's Full's first name? And he was a British dual citizen, and they did a spacewalk together. And he said that he was Michael Full, Michael Foale. He said that this was an important thing for the African American community and everyone when Bernard did this. I think Winston Scott's the second African American to do a spacewalk, but Bernard only did it once as on 63. He had 2 missions to space, 18 days. Um, he was born in Temple, Texas on June 26, 1856. So he is, yeah, he's going to be 70 years old this year in June. And he has got a foundation called the, in 63, by the way, was Peggy Whitson was the commander. And she was the first, not Peggy Whitson, Eileen Collins was the pilot of 63. Speak out of turn there. He's a medical doctor, by the way, Texas Tech, Mayo Clinic. His Harris Foundation in Houston is a nonprofit organization whose mission states they want to invest in community-based initiatives to support education, health, and wealth. They want to empower individuals, in particular minorities and other economically or socially disadvantaged, to recognize their potential and pursue their dreams. And Bernard Harris, who I did spend a lot of time with, Marty, last year, he was inducted into the Hall of Fame and that's not his Hall of Fame speech, but he dressed up like that. I had his family there. I had several great conversations with him. He said, quote, "Prepare our kids now for jobs that don't exist today," unquote. Prepare our kids now for jobs that don't exist today. I like that from Bernard Harris. All right, one of my favorite logos is STS 98, and with a couple of my favorite people on there. STS 98. It took up the most important section, Harmony, up to the space station. No, Destiny. I'm sorry, the Destiny laboratory, the big, and that's where most of the astronauts spend their day, American astronauts. And this has got our buddy Tom Jones on it, who's going to be at Shuttle Fest. Ken Cockrell, called Taco, was his nickname. He's the commander. Mark Polonsky was the pilot. And Jones did 3 EVAs with Robert Kerbeam, all right, while Marcia Ivins worked the robotic arm. This was the heaviest thing handled by the robotic arm, had inches of clearance out of the payload bay, and when it was docked to the ISS, I read this in Tom's book, Marty, and I know you probably read Tom's book. Remember him talking about how this was so, had Marcia just raw nerves on this one there. The 98's mission was to travel to the International Space Station, install the American-built Destiny Laboratory, which provided a revolutionary facility to conduct extensive and valued research. Atlantis is illustrated with its remote manipulator arm extended as it prepares to launch Destiny. Okay, and not to launch Destiny, attach Destiny to the Unity module. Earth is reflected in Destiny's windows. Ooh, that's a cute little touch. Window up there's got Earth in it. The constellation Hercules can be seen between the module and the orbiter. Hercules is a symbol of strength and a nod to Herculean efforts of the shuttle and ISS crews. Maybe that's Hercules. It looks like SpongeBob, actually, a square, and I kind of see the square in the middle. And I love SpongeBob, and so that's what I think it looks like. The patch is surrounded by stars and stripes of the American flag, showing the country's continued commitment to the development of the ISS. This was the first shuttle insignia design to feature a gradient in the artwork since the ISS patch. Feature a gradient in the artwork. Okay. I guess that's the colored there. Um, Gradients are not part of NASA Art Department guidelines due to productive restrictions when the manufacturing the embroidered versions. So that's the color going from the exhaust of the spacecraft there, Atlantis. Artists Mark Jacobs and Terry Johnson worked on the final artwork for this design, and so a lot of installation going on there. Actually, Mark Lee was supposed to work with Jones, and he talks about that in his book. That kind of like one day Kerbeam shows up and said, "Hey, I'm replacing Mark," and didn't know much about it. Uh, Tom Jones says, and it may have been something with Mark Lee's getting divorced. Who knows? Uh, Nobody says that they know. Okay, let's put it that way. So, okay, let's check it out here. But I love this patch because it looks to me like the Grateful Dead. Okay, Space Your Face is what that reminds me of. And they do a serious picture, and then they do kind of it's particularly like the last third of the shuttle era, they really got into music themes or what was the motion picture of the time thing. And this was a rap music going on in what year? I didn't put the years on that. What year did I say that was, Marty? 98. STS 98 was in 19. 2001. All right, 25 years ago. Think safe, so rap music, this kind of punk stuff was going on. So that's what they looked like, back alley thugs. Think safety, you got a problem with that? And of course, that's like saying, do your job or we could die and we'll beat you up in the afterlife if you do that to us. So Tom Jones is over on the far right, Marsha Ivins in the middle. There's Kerbeam, Polanski, and Cockrell is in the middle there. Taco Cockrell is what his nickname is. So it being Black History Month, let's look at Robert Kerbeam there up close and personal for a minute. Born Robert Lee Kerbeam Jr., March 5th, 1962, in Baltimore, Maryland. Okay. He 7 spacewalks. Okay. He was selected in 1994 in the Flying Escargot group of astronauts. That was because of 2 Frenchmen in the class. 38 days in space on 3 missions. All right, 85, 98, and 116. He was a Air Force, no Navy pilot school he went to. He was the Fighter Wing 1 Radar Interceptor Officer of the Year in 1989. So that was a good thing that got him in the astronaut corps. There we are, the crew of STS-98. Tom Jones, Kerbeam, Polanski, Marcia, and Taco there. Enjoying, plus probably out at the beach house, I'd have to say, Marty. You don't see, there's the Atlantic Ocean in the background.
Yeah, they have that kind of handrail.
They don't?
They do.
Oh, yeah. Okay, Marty's confirmed that by the handrail you see there. Excellent. There he is today. Never seen him with hair. Okay. He's worked for for Northrop Grumman as a senior director of innovation systems. Let's see. Interestingly, yeah, he did record-breaking 4 spacewalks on 116, a December mission, 3 of which were conducted alongside a Swedish astronaut, Fuglesang. and one was Sunita Williams. So he's 4 EVAs on one mission is the record, and he holds it there. So he certainly had some experience getting out of that suit, and he is one of our astronaut African American and on Black History Month here. And one more to highlight here, we got to have a girl today as we celebrate this. Stephanie Wilson, born September 27th, 1866 in Boston, Massachusetts. Grew up in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. She is not a spacewalker. She flew to space on 3 shuttle missions. Her 42 days in space are the most by any female African American. She is still on the Artemis astronaut list to fly. I think she was going to be on a SpaceX and got bumped for that when they just flew up 2 there. But Stephanie's patiently waiting, hasn't been to space since 2010. All right, 131. 2010, waiting, wow, 16 years for another flight. All right, and she's going to be age 60 coming up here. So hope that works out for her. But a great woman, somebody I'd like to meet. She uses artwork to inspire young girls and women of color to aim higher as they pursue their dreams. Okay, so and that's just not a cliche theme. This is what you have to do. To if nobody's out there inspiring you, then there's not going to be. People don't see good deeds. They're not going to be inspired to become who you are, because after all, the great Sally Ride said, "You can't be what you can't see." And I love that. Think about that on so many levels. You can't be what you can't see. Well, something that's hard to see right now, Marty, is Artemis landing on the moon in 2 or 3 years, okay? Even if we do it, and I want to do it before end of my lifetime, see us return to the moon. But the old sand in the hourglass is ticking for me pretty much about, 3/4 empty. So let's remember, Apollo 14 landed today, 55 years ago, the big return to the moon after the near fatal accident of Apollo 13. It was so close. It would be so horrible that we wouldn't have brought back these men, and they'd still be looping between the Earth and the moon and forever in that capsule. So an amazing accomplishment, not only to go back to the moon, okay, after April 1970, all right, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January. 9 months later, 10 months later, we're going back to the moon after this explosion on Apollo 13. And it's a great movie, by the way. People in NASA do enjoy that. Very few qualms with it. But the return to the moon, Alan Shepard, with 15 minutes of suborbital flight, did the most accurate landing on the moon. Incredible. And with 3 rookies. And there's Antares on the moon, Lem number 8. Okay, the American flag in the background, the Frall-Marrow area, where Apollo 13 was going to go. Pretty much a nice, smooth, easy place to land near the equator. Of course, the top part of this rendezvoused with the Kitty Hawk command module, and this base exists still on the surface of the moon 55 years later for our friend Elizabeth Schneider to take a tour group there with her Galactic Medallion Tours someday there, Elizabeth. The patch of Apollo. Oh, I meant to put the crew in here. Doggone it, I didn't put the crew in there, so forgive me for that. But the patch of Apollo 13 has some real fun side notes to it here. But let's look at the patch first here. All right. As we end our first week of Stay Curious here, another week of Stay Curious. The Apollo 14 patch, designed by graphic artist Jean Beaulieu, depicts a gold astronaut lapel pin blasting off the Earth and leaving a trail behind on its way to the moon. The gold badge was worn only by those who had flown in space. A silver version was awarded to the astronauts who had yet to complete a space flight. After the failed landing attempt of Apollo 13, the crew of 14 would now explore the moon's Marrow crater region. 14 was an H mission, as Apollos 12 and 13. These were precision landing missions with a maximum stay of 2 days and 2 scheduled EVAs. After the landings of 11 and 12, red stripes were added to the mission commander's spacesuit so you could identify him in the future. So that is the simple patch there. They don't talk about the Earth in the foreground, the moon in the foreground. But there was another patch developed by this that we've talked about on Stay Curious and didn't this year because of our guests and so forth, that was printed up and then put in every nook and cranny of the Apollo 14 command module and lunar module by the backup crew of Cernan, Evans, and Engel. And it was the Beep Beep Roadrunner patch that they had made, okay? And the Roadrunner was Cernan, Evans, and Engel. Of course, that was going to be the Apollo 17 crew. Engel got bumped for the geologist Schmidt. But there they are beating them to the moon because it shows the Coyote as first red for red-headed Stu Rosa, pot-bellied, okay, for Edgar Mitchell, little pot-bellied on the side, and 45-year-old gray beard shepherd. All right, that's what the Wile E. Coyote represents there instead of the astronaut symbol there. And there's the actual patch that pops up once in a while in our auctions. So cool to have in there. Beep, beep, beat you to the moon there. So that's always astronauts having fun. I showed y'all last week. This is a piece of safety line that was on the surface of the moon 55 years ago that was cut up in pieces, put on a business card size plastic, laminated, and given to space workers as an attaboy for helping us go back to the moon and so forth. Though Marty said he never got one. It was a NASA logo on the back, so it must have been NASA only people that got it, Marty. So don't feel too bad as you were a Grumman contractor, huh?
I feel terrible.
Doug Forrest, mostly parked, who is, we saw him at the museum. Morgan there. Morgan, thanks for watching. Chris Calais, how you doing, buddy? I'm going to give you a phone call when I get off here. We've got some business to talk about. Gary Gerald, RG Jubilee. Gary, great to have you on board, buddy. He's busy probably getting those, waiting for the Vidalia onions to grow. Cliff Watson, Ophelia Sotterell. Cliffy, hope you're feeling good. He is in Pomona, Australia. Ophelia is in France. Dave Stangy and Mia. Hi, Mia. Little beautiful granddaughter of Dave Stangy. She is in Michigan up there. Jim McDade. Check out Jim's show. We had a good conversation between two space geeks on Friday. Dean Babcock, great to have you. Can't wait to meet you. Mark Thel. He'll be at Shuttle Fest. Always watching. Tom Usiak. Tom Celentano, Carlton Bailey, John the Beagle Dad, Robert Lopp in Dundee, Scotland. He was here a week ago. Fred Kilner, and Kate 3.14, Katie Pie. Thank you for watching us today on Stay Curious. Tell your friend nobody else is celebrating Black History Month like this. And that's not what's so important, is that we celebrate astronauts every day of the week and the wonderful things they've done to change our world. So tomorrow, Carlton Bailey will be here with Fodsy and one of his fashion statements, of course. So stay tuned for that. Until then, I'm Mark Marquette saying we can't wait to see you in our museum to bridge the space between us. Thank you.